Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now you can. Yeah, just I got a device from Patil sir. So we will start our today's session in a brief way. In yesterday's lecture, we had unit number 2. In yesterday's lecture, we had unit number 2, where we studied in a brief way about letter writing and report writing. In fact, the lecture was not in detail because we couldn't have that much time to go ahead in depth level. But as far as my knowledge is concerned, I gone through with you people in a brief way, where we discussed regarding application letter, how to write it, what are the different kinds or types of letters, what are the purposes of writing letters, as well as we have had biodata or CV we seen, and how many elements should be there, how they should be included or incorporated in CV, and how it should be attached to, or what is the role of a CV in your interview, or so and so. So these elements or factors were discussed in the yesterday's lecture. As well as we have had writing reports, in which I have given you a good example of a report on fall in production, a good report on fall in production that we have had in yesterday's lecture. Also, I discussed with you people about the two sections of report writing. One is observation, that in the first section or in the first part, while writing report, you have to observe, or you have to collect data first of all, and then collecting, contemplating, data analyzing, you have to write or show your analytical report in first section, that is observation. So after observation, your report requires a resolution or solution, whatever the problem are being emerged, or problem emerge in your company, in any organization, or whatever the situation may be, it should be resolved. So I also discussed with you people how to resolve it, how to get solution, and so on. So things were discussed in yesterday lecture in a brief way. Okay, in today's session, I would like to complete one more unit, that is unit number 3, entitled as oral communication, in which we have again some sub points in which we will see a meaning and importance of group discussion. So in oral communication, group discussion is very important as far as your interview is concerned, or oral communication is concerned. So group discussion is very important, as well as interviews should be included in oral communication discussion. And in the last sub point, in which we have interview methods, how to give an interview or face an interview. So these are the three basic and important sub points in oral communication that we have to study or complete in today's session, and remaining part will be scheduled once again as per our discussion with Patil sir. Anyway, you know that oral communication, it is very easy. Once again, just like a written communication, it is a oral communication. Communication is any process in which people share information, that you know very well. The definition of communication, in which we have some sub elements like communication is an exchange of ideas, thoughts, feelings, etc., from one person to another, or from one organization to another organization, In this way, we have had a discussion, or we have had a definition of communication. So the same criteria is applied, or can be applicable to the oral communication, because it is a part of communication. So whenever we orally communicate with our friends, with the customer, or whoever may be in front of you or in front of us, we people share our information. We people share our ideas, feelings, to construct meanings and establish relations and build understanding. So these are some basic elements that are also included in oral communication. So while studying oral communication, we have to keep our concentration on these elements of communication. It is meaningful exchange that involves not only the spoken and written word. Look at the statement. It is a meaningful exchange that involves not only the spoken and written word, but also body language. So, the body language or non-verbal communication always supports in oral communication. So you too try your level best. You can also sometimes use your body language whenever you talk, whenever you converse, whenever you communicate with someone. Naturally, you people use your limbs. Yes. Hello. Hello. Anyway, is there any problem?
No, sir.
Is no, yeah. Then someone has just opened his speaker. That was why I asked you people. Anyway, whenever we talk in oral way or orally, we naturally use our body or limbs of our body to support our oral communication. That whenever we use our statement, sentence, or any other mode in oral communication, we use body language, and it always play a crucial role. It supports our oral communication. Okay, so that is why oral communication is not only the communication based on spoken or written word, but it rests on your own body language, how you use it. So it includes personal mannerism and style too, or the physical environment too. So anything that adds meaning to a message, this process takes place through the exchange of verbal and non-verbal messages. That all these all things included in oral communication. Okay. So in a big way, we will discuss in today's session. In our book, there are several sub elements or minor elements are already given and discussed in a thoroughly. But as far as time is concerned, we will see what is meant by oral communication and its importance and advantages, as well as how to use oral communication in our business correspondence or in business communication. So and so things will be discussed in today's session. So oral communication is the process of verbally transmitting information and ideas from one individual or group to another. You just, if you concentrate on definition, you will come to know what is the meaning of oral communication. Nothing is a difference between oral communication definition and definition of communication, because it is a part of communication. So here you also see that exchange of ideas, thoughts and feelings from one to another. Okay, whenever we talk, it may be a face to face, it may be a telephonic way, or whatever it may be, but we use or we exchange our ideas, thoughts and feelings from one to another. That is here we call oral communication. The only thing, the only difference is that written communication, in written communication we use written words. In oral communication we use the words, but in oral way. That is the only medium, a change of medium. So oral communication refers to the spoken words. It takes the form uh, of sounds and words. The form of sound and words are important here instead of written form compared to written communication. Oral communication is also referred to as verbal communication. Oral communication takes place in many ways. Oral communication encompasses conversations. There are different situations, the daily we use in our business life or in our social life or social cultural life. First of all, you see that oral communication takes place in the many ways. Oral communication encompasses conversations, monologue, dialogue, talk, speech, and chat. Some of them are premeditated and some are not. Whenever we talk or whenever we have a formal situation, it could be known as a good structured communication, because we have to structure it before communicating in a office. We have to pre-plan, we have to structure our talk, our speech, our conversation. Without the well structure, you cannot and will not communicate in a good way. So structure is also very important. Structure in that sense, the planning. What are the elements that you are going to include in your discussion, in your conversation with your boss, with your colleagues, with your, it may be horizontal, it may be upward, it may be downward, whatever it may be the form of communication. Before communicating with your the colleagues, with your boss, you have to structure it. What are the elements that you have to include in your communication, in your oral communication? Especially in written communication, that thing is different, because that is already structured, well structured, and that is a legal one. But in oral communication, sometimes what happens, without structuring, without planning, we people begin to talk. So we may make some sort of jumble. We may just we may have some sort of a fumble if we cannot structure it in a well manner. So in formal situation or in formal communication, we have to structure it, or structure our own communication. Informal speeches are pre-planned and well structured, as I just discussed with you people, whereas informal ones are unstructured and often loosely worded. Unstructured, that whenever we talk with our friends, in our family, in our, whenever we meet to our friends, there is not necessary to structure it, because it is an informal one. In informal, we people always talk on different situation, talk on different subjects. There is no any structured communication. That is why we have a difference between unstructured and structured, or formal and informal communication. So oral communication plays a vital role in everybody's life, both for individuals and organization. It is very important one. It is indeed the most commonly used method of communication, both at the social as well as organizational level. Everyone makes use oral communication in their transactions and interactions. So without interaction, without transaction, we cannot proceed our business. We cannot proceed our relationship with customer, with the other colleagues, with the employees, and so and so. So communication should be there, but it should be a formal one in business, and it should be a skillful one. Not generally we people talk, generally we people converse, generally we people give a speech. It may be a example speech, it may be a prepared speech, but we talk in that way. But it should be a skilled one, because you are in the business, you are in the organization. So organization requires some sort of skills. That is why we are studying here business communication. Otherwise we would not study, we would not have a study of such a subject in MBA. So in business communication, everything is well structured instead of an unstructured one. So you have to plan yourself whenever you are in a formal situation, whenever you are in official situation. Okay. So direct person to person communication plays a very useful role in any organization. The face to face we can call here instead of a direct one. Essentially in work situation where employer and employee, superior and subordinate, service provider and customer, custom intact. So whenever you talk, whenever you keep your relationship with the supervisor, with subordinator, with customer, with your boss, with the employer, and so on. So you have to go ahead with face-to-face communication. It would be better for you people. So the message conveyed through communication is instantaneous, The message can travel back and forth without any loss of time is possible for the receiver of the message to respond immediately to the sender, making the process highly interactive. So in business communication, especially face communication is very important. So or that is highlighted, or that has much and more importance in business communication instead of any other form or category of communication. So face to face, that is a person to person communication we can call, or direct person to person communication is very important, and it plays crucial role in business enhancement, or in business development, or in business progress, because the two person come together, they listen, they interact, they communicate, they solve their any doubts, cynics on the spot. That is why direct person to person communication or a face to face communication plays crucial role in oral communication or in business communication. So now let us see, there are some methods of oral communication. The first one is just I discussed with you people, face to face communication is the most natural way of transmitting the message compared to other all categories or other all forms or methods of communication. Face to face communication has its own space in business communication in transmitting the messages. As far as transmitting is concerned in business communication, it has a much and more importance. So in oral orders, face to face interviews, lectures, group discussions, social gatherings, etc., are frequently used in daily life. It may be in business, it may be a social cultural life. That one may go ahead by having these methods in within a day, because we have several customers, we have several persons, we have several situation in which we have to go ahead with these methods. That it may be sometimes we listen lectures, sometimes we give lectures, and sometimes we gather together and discuss, sometimes we have a face to face communication. So all these categories are there, but all these categories form is only one, that is face to face communication. Okay, these have the merit of achieving greater uh, cooperation and understanding. Whatever just we discussed, these have some sort of abilities that they greaterly, or they cooperate. We have a quick feedback, we have a good support, we have a good advantages that we get from these forms or these methods within face to face communication. So moreover, the listener can make queries if he has any doubt spot on the spot, or if he is not able to understand the messages. So on the spot resolution, on the spot a problem could be solved in face to face communication. So that is why it is a very important communication method in oral communication. The second one comes here, communication through mechanical or electronic devices. Nowadays we are living in a information and technology era in which we have a number of gadgets, in which we have a number of devices that we use in our daily life to communicate, to interact, and so and so. So here, mechanical or electronic devices are also playing an important role in day-to-day communication, especially in oral communication, in which we have some devices. For example, telephone. So telephonic communication, it is a quick one, it is an immediate one, communication or method or system through which we can interact, through which we can achieve whatever we have, we need, whatever we need, or whatever we desire to achieve our goal quickly. So telephone is the most common medium of communication. Telephone could be used internally in the organization as well as externally. It may be a business official communication. We use intercom or telephone as well as to communicate with outside the business, for example, to a customer, for example, to other companies, other organization, we communicate through a telephone. So internal use of telephone as a medium of communication, extensions are also used with are come through a switchboard or console. There are some other minor things that are play a very important role. Various types of telephone equipments are, for example, intercom. Intercommunication system, that is dictaphone, electronic pausing system, etc., are included in telephonic communication. Second one we have is intercom system. You know, intercom system we several times come across in official communication, in offices, especially in multinational companies. We have such type of a system. Okay, then dictaphone, electric paging system, buzzer, cellular phone. So these are the some other gadgets. These are the some other systems that we do use in our oral communication. So these are the methods of communication. Instead of going in a depth level, because you are already well associated with these devices or these methods or gadgets, especially based on electronic, so not necessary to discuss in a depth way. So now let us see a difference between speaking and listening, or the role of speaking and listening in oral communication. So speaking involves three main areas: the words we choose, how one say them, and how one reinforce them with other non-verbal communication. So how to speak and how to listen is very important, because whenever in oral communication, these are the two important elements that one on which one has to concentrate, because after all oral communication is a good and important communication in communication. So speaking and listening is very important in oral communication. All these affect the transmission of messages. How we people do use our own words or one sentence or one statement in oral communication, and how it is received and understood by audience is very important. That the second one part in oral communication is that how your receiver is receiving your messages are very important. So that is why speaking, there is a close relationship between speaking and listening. So good speaker is also necessary and good listener is also necessary in oral communication. And simultaneously one has to possess both the skills. Listening is also a good skill and speaking is also a good skill that one has to possess in order to be a good leader in an organization or in an office. So leadership based on your speech and listening. So all these affect the transmission of messages and how it is received and understood by audience. So your speech should be understood by your audience. In this way, you have to structure your speech. You have to use your sentence or your statement, your word and whatnot with grammatical correctness. So it is worth considering choice of words carefully whenever we speak or whenever we write. You know, we in our written message, in our written communication, we select naturally which one word is specific, which one word is natural, which one word is important whenever we deliver our message or whenever we communicate our messages in written communication. Or same thing happens here in oral communication, that choice of words should be clearly and carefully done by you people. It is probably need to use different words in different situation, even when discussing the same subject. Whenever we discuss the same subject, the choice of words should be there. So vocabulary, one must possess vocabulary in one's own personality. Okay, so that he or she can have variations in their speech. Okay, so for example, what one said to close colleagues will be very different from how one present a subject at a major conference, because you know that there are a number of times we people do face seminars, workshops, conference through which we try to communicate with our customers or with our colleagues, and that is a natural process. So in which we use speech. So whenever we use or give our speech, in our speech, the speech should be verified one, and there should be variations, be carefully conducted. So how one speaks includes one's tone of voice is also very important. Speech also requires the tone or tone modulation. More generally, these send important messages to audience. So tone should be used in a very articulated way. Listening is an important skill, just like speaking, because the good listener can be known as a good speaker. So however, when we communicate, we tend to spend far more energy considering what we are going to say than listening to the other person. So one has to listen carefully instead of going ahead without listening. One should not be start his or interrupt the other's speech. So first of all, the good listener, a good leader often listen what others say to him. So listening also play an important role, because if you cannot listen in a very if you cannot listen carefully, you cannot interact, you cannot communicate in a good and proper way. So listening is the ability to accurately receive and interrupt messages in the communication process. Listening is a key to all effective communication. As I already told you people, listening is a key to all effective communication. So first of all, we have to receive whatever the others are giving to you through their speech, through their communication. Then only you can understand, and then only you will be able to prepare what you are going to respond to the sender. So without the ability to listen effectively, messages are easily misunderstood. Messages are easily misunderstood if you cannot and will not receive in a proper way from a sender. So that may be a big loss for you people. Without listening, if you communicate with someone or some senders, it would be a big loss for you people. So good listening. That is why I say to you people that good listener is known as a good speaker. As a result, communication breaks down and the sender of the message cannot or can easily become frustrated or irritated because of your loss of lack of listening. So good listening skills can lead to better customer satisfaction. In business communication, in business level, or in business structure, in any office, you have to listen carefully first of all, in order to keep your relations with the customer in a good way. Good listening skills can lead to better customer satisfaction, greater productivity with fewer mistakes, and increased sharing of information that in turn can lead to more creative and innovative work. So these are some benefits if you listen in a good way, or if you are a good listener, you will have multiple benefits or advantages from listening only in a good way. So effective listening is vital for good oral communication. There are a number of ways that can ensure that one listen more effectively. These include avoid distractions. Avoid distractions. Distraction always lead or take your attention to other subjects. Be objective instead of a subjective. Be objective. Be prepared to listen. In oral communication, be prepared to listen. You have to prepare before listening or to listen. Listen. Concentrate on the main direction of the speaker's message. concentration is a good one thing, that one has to concentrate and then only do whatever he may like to do, or one can do anything with concentration. Do not be trying to think of a next question or next statement or next any message. Whatever you are receiving, you just receive it with concentration and don't think anticipation way. So do not be trying to think of next question. Do not dwell on one or two points at the expense of others. Do not dwell or do not linger on the same thoughts, same ideas, same feelings. You should go ahead along with your speaker, along with your along with your sender, and do not stereotype the speaker and keep an open mind. So these are some basic elements that we have to keep in your mind whenever you try to speak, whenever you try to listen in oral communication. So these basic the minor elements, you may think that these are the minor elements that we people do always accept, and we have already possessed in our personality. But though you people possess in your personality, it depends on you people how many times you people use these elements whenever you talk, whenever you communicate with your sender. So using is very important. The possessing is not important. You suppose you know very well, you possess all these things in your personality, but if you can't use it in a proper way in oral communication, you cannot and will not develop or progress your relationship with your sender or with your customer. So using is also very important. That is why these are the some elements that we just discussed here. So there are some other minor points that we have to discuss here. Meeting speeches are also there, in which we have some sort of questions that we have to raise whenever we attend meeting. If you are not clear with your colleagues who are now giving you a speech, or who are now talking to you people in a meeting, you have to raise some questions, and how it should be raised by using why, what, how, what. These are some double-edged questions, that with these questions you have to interrupt, you have to interact with your boss, or who are sitting with you in a meeting. So meeting speeches, how to give how to face meeting is also important in oral communication. So one has to prepare, one has to develop his own communication system, especially in oral communication. Okay, then there are some techniques or technique of electing response, probing questions, recording, and closing. Again, you have some we have in this technical study, we have some types or kinds of questions: open questions and closed questions. When you attend your meeting with your boss, in meeting, how to tackle with them, how to raise questions, how to clear your doubts or cynics is very important. But in meeting, you know that it is an official meeting, it is a legal meeting, it is a formal meeting. So one has to go, one has to interact, one has to communicate in a very systematic way, in a very formal way. So when we attend such formal communication or formal meetings, we have to use our own language in a formal way. So that is why raising questions, making any points in that meeting should, whenever we do in that way, our language should be clarified or articulated one. It should be a proper one, and so on. So things should be cared in our communication. So while preparing question, first of all, we have to concentrate on what are the kinds of questions. Open questions are there, closed questions are there. So open questions always open for you people for discussion. There is a possibility of discussion, but closed questions not required to discuss, not required to analyze, not required to explain, but the such questions may require only yes or no type question answer. So that is why we call them closed question. and open question. I'm not going to discuss in a detailed way, but just I introduced you people. Whenever we have oral communication, we have to concentrate on these elements in various situations. So it depends on the situations where we are, in which situation we are talking, in which situation we are orally communicating. So it depends on you people where you are, whether it is an official one, whether it is a formal one, whether it is an informal one. So according to the need of situation and time, we have to change our language, we have to change our communication system, especially in oral way. So later we see that we have some probing questions, questions which investigate, especially when you raise questions in such questions requires investigation answers. For example, asking or probing questions is another strategy for finding out more in detail. Sometimes it is as simple as asking one's respondents for an example to help one understand the statement that they have made. So probing questions always requires some additional statement or some additional answer from the speaker or to whom you raise the question or to whom you are talking with, you are talking on the subject. So here the word itself indicates that you are probing questions requires some analytical answer that one has to give in order to understand in a good way. Okay, then we have leading questions. Again, it is discussed in a very detailed way, but we are not going in that way. Later we have some rhetorical questions. Rhetorical questions aren't really questions at all, in that they don't expect an answer. This one question is included in the form or kinds of closed question. Whenever we have an oral situation or whenever we have oral communication, in oral or orality requires to concentrate on these elements, because in meeting, in conversation, in seminar, in workshop, we have to go ahead by having these all situation, by having these all elements. So these factors or elements of oral communication play crucial role, or in order to highlight your own personality, you have to go ahead with these factors that you have to use in our oral communication. Then only you can build your good personality, or you would be recognized or identified as a good leader in your company, in your organization, or in order to run your business in a better way, in a good way, you have to possess all these techniques of your language or of your communication system. So it may be written, it may be oral, but your communication should be a good one that should be lead to you as a good leader, as a good personal, and good leader or a good person requires nowadays in a business. Okay. So as I told you, that rhetorical questions are once again not necessary to give you a detailed answer or statement or sentence, but just they need or require yes or no type answer. Okay, later we have some important aspects regarding using questioning techniques. So questions are a powerful way of learning, or ask open and closed question and use probing questions. So asking questions means that you are clearing your own doubts. Try to understand. It may be in meeting, it may be in workshop, it may be in seminar, or in any situation. Whenever you are there in such communication, oral communication, when you have some doubts or cynics in your mind, you have to raise question. But raising question is also important way of communication, way of oral communication especially. So while raising questions, in which way you have to prepare your questions is very important. That is why we discussed just some categories or forms of questions. So for rhetorical question, closed questions, open questions, investigation questions, funeral questions, probing questions. So these are some kinds of questions. Okay, then only you can clear your own doubt. Okay. Especially it also helps to building your relationship with people. Generally respond positively if one ask about what they do or inquire about their own opinions and so and so. Okay, so it is a good way.
हे झालं ग्रुप
Someone is there that I request to you people, please mute your speaker. Okay, now we will see some sort of advantages or disadvantages of oral communication. So let us see first of all advantages of oral communication. What are the benefits that you will get if you have oral communication? So the first one is that there is a high level of understanding and transparency in oral communication as it is interpersonal. You know, the oral communication is an interpersonal communication instead of an intrapersonal communication. There is a difference between intrapersonal and interpersonal communication. So in interpersonal communication, one by one, or you communicate with others. But in intrapersonal communication, you communicate with your own mind. They're not necessary to go in that way. Anyway, there is a high level of understanding and transparency in oral communication because we have a face-to-face situation. We have in meeting, we have face-to-face communication in seminar, in workshop. So all these situations require face-to-face communication. So that is why we have some sort of benefits or advantages. There is no element of rigidity in oral communication. There is a flexibility for allowing changes in the decisions previously taken, because it is a flexibility. In oral communication, we have flexibility. Suppose if someone already has decided to go in that way or this way, but if you people feel that way is not good one, so instead of going in that way, we have to go in this way. So whenever you have meeting, you have possibility of changing such previous decisions because of oral situation, because of oral communication, because you can withdraw your own statement in oral communication especially, but not such situation we find in written communication, because once you write, it is a overrule. So in oral communication we have that much possibility that we get from the oral communication. The feedback is spontaneous in case of oral communication, and it is an immediate one. Feedback is spontaneous, a natural one, and it is an immediate or quick feedback you can get from oral communication. It may be from your boss, it may be from your colleagues, it may be from your own relatives, and so on, so things. So thus decisions can be made quickly without any delay. So if the good response, good feedback you get, or positive feedback you get from your own colleagues, you can quickly take any decision, or you can quickly prepare any policy for your company or for your business. So feedback compared to the written communication is very quick one, very immediate one that you get from get in oral communication. Oral communication is not only time saving, but it also saves upon money and efforts. Compared to written communication, we don't need, we don't require any other material that like a pen, pencil, pages, or legal any other bound papers, and so on, so thing. But you know, it is a inexpensive compared to written communication. That is why it saves time and money too. That is also a good and important advantage that we get from oral communication. Oral communication is best in case of problems resolution because it has a quick decision making, or we have a number of participants before us, so we immediately we can discuss with them in order to clarify any problem. So the conflicts, disputes and many issues or differences can be put an end by talking them over, because he or she maybe exist before you in oral communication. That is why resolution process is quickly done in oral communication compared to the written communication, because written communication requires a time, it requires process and so on. So things are involved in written communication, but in oral communication all these steps are avoided quickly, and we will have quick resolution in order to solve any problem, any doubt, any differences, any issues, and so on. So oral communication is an essential for teamwork and group energy. As far as teamwork and team and group is concerned, oral communication always play a vital role in an organization. Oral communication promotes a receptive and encouraging moral among organizational employees, as well as it can be best used to transfer private and confidential information or any matter quickly. That is a well good advantages that we get in oral communication. Oh, okay. Despite we have advantages, we have also disadvantages compared to written communication. As far as the legality is concerned, oral communication is not considered as a legal one, because there is no any system that is used in a court in order to prove your oral communication. So there is no any legality or legally proved document oral communication. So relying only on oral communication may not be sufficient, as business communication is formal and very organized. Oral communication is less authentic than written communication. As I just told you people, why it is not authentic? Because it has no any legal system that we can prove it in the court. Suppose if I give you some sort of promise to you, and later I not promise it, later if I not kept my promise alive, you can't go in a court to prove of my promise, because it is a oral one. So oral is not considered as a legal document, though we have some sort of recording system is emerged, or though we use record of whatever the promise that I made to you before. Okay, so oral communication is time saving as far as daily interactions are concerned, but in case of meetings, long speeches consume a lot of time and are unproductive at times. Though we say that it consumes our time, but in long speech, in long meeting, compared to written communication, it is not a good one. So oral communication are not easy to maintain, and thus they are unsteady. There may be a misunderstandings as the information is not complete, and many may lack essentials. Misunderstanding may be happen because of clarity of clarification, or because of lack of articulation of the statement or language that the sender uses in his speech, in his meetings, and so and so. So oral communication, such as in speeches, is not frequently used as legal records except in investigation work. That I already discussed with you people. So there is no any legal support that we give or we use from oral communication. But the only thing is that as far as discussion is concerned, or debate is concerned, in order to resolve any problem or in order to get any solution for the emerging or for any problem, we can quickly solve through oral communication. That is the only good benefit we get from oral communication. Okay, later we have some detailed information regarding benefits from communication, how we will get benefit. Better engagement is also possible because of oral communication. Morality should maybe increased. It may improve our productivity because of the better communication techniques that we use in or among employees, so they can better comprehend their roles and so on. So things, less ambiguity is also possible because of face-to-face communication. There may be a clarification in our own statement, in our own promise, in our own goals, policies, and so on. So things, it may seem that it has a greater loyalty that we exercise in oral communication. A better collaboration is also possible because of bilateral, trilateral communication. We several times listen such words: bilateral communication, trilateral communication. There is a oral or face-to-face communication always takes place between two nations, between two statements, between two organizations, between two MNCs, or whatever it may be. So because of such oral communication, we may develop, we may create a healthy relationship between two companies, two organizations, and because of that reason, we may create or we may establish collaboration relationship. Okay. So later we see that we have some sort of greater motivation we find in speeches especially. So these are the some advantages that we get from oral communication. Despite these advantages or benefits, we have some sort of threats of poor communication. If you have a poor communication, whenever we have meetings, whenever you have any other speech, it may generate some sort of threat to us. Anyway, now let us see the another one important element that is included in oral communication is group discussion. Nowadays group discussion is a very important factor that we see, that we face in especially an organization, and in organization especially we have interviews. So while facing an interview or giving an interview, a group discussion is one of the important factors that qualify you people, whether you are able or whether you are a suitable candidate or not. So group discussion, group debates are used or exercised nowadays in an organization or in any offices, so that they can have some better ideas, some good ideas from you people. So why group discussion? That is a basic question that we have to ask to us, everyone. So when individuals are unable to cope up or to resolve the problem, we have to go ahead with the group one. So when we gather, when we come together, we may have some sort of new ideas, some sort of new or innovative ideas, calculating all the ideas or resolutions or solution, whatever we will have in discussion, in group discussion, group debate, that may better path or way instead of going ahead individually. So that was why I told you people that when individuals are unable to cope up with the problem or resolution to the particular question, it is the only group discussion or group debate can resolve or solve the question, the problem. That is why group discussion is very important. So despite these advantages, we have good leadership. So in MNC companies, MNC company requires good leadership quality. So that may be uh, uh, such good quality or good leadership may be identified through arranging a group discussion or through arranging group debates. So nowadays, group discussion has greater importance in oral communication. So let us see, group discussion is formed by combining two different words, that is a group and discussion. Not necessary, I think so, to go in that way. So group and discussion, these are the two different words. Generally, group discussion is a method used by the companies or organizations to check whether the candidates have certain personality or certain skills which are must for their members or employees. Nowadays, group discussions have become a main stage in the requirement process, in the recruitment process, as I generally already introduced you people, that in recruitment process, group discussion and group debate to play a crucial role in order to identify whether the candidate is suitable, whether he possesses such a leadership quality or not, whether his decision making is a good one or positive one, negative one, whatever it may be, in order to qualify, in order to identify the suitable candidate in an interview. We have such type of arrangement of group discussion and group debate. So in this discussion, the group of applicants or candidate is given a topic or a scenario, and a few minutes are provided them to think about the same. So already topic, you will have a topic and few minutes. So contemplating or brooding on the given topic, you have to participate in a group and show your ability, show your caliber, show your leadership efficacies in such a discussion. So organizations conduct group discussions after the written test so as to test the interactive skills of the candidates and how good they are at the interacting with other people. So group discussion also tells about how candidates behave, how candidates participate, and how he contribute in a group. Also, recruits come to know about how much importance applicants give to the team objectives, as well as their own, how well they listen to viewpoints of others. So listening views from others, expressing views of your own, how you people closely associate or establish your relationship with other members, how you participate, and so on. So things are there, and in order to identify your leadership in a group, such type of group arrangement is arranged or planned in an interview. So group discussion is conducted to evaluate one's skills especially. So what are the skills that one has to possess in his or her personality whenever you go to face an interview or give an interview? The first one thing that the group discussion clarifies or uncovers your confidence. Later you see that what type of language or quality of language that they check, that they observe. Quality of language, the capacity of listening, how you listen, what type of attitude is there, whether it may be assertive and so on. So paraphrasing skills is also evaluated from your personality. Leadership is a very important element that one has to possess, and it is also identified or checked from group discussion. So in group discussion, whenever you enter, whenever you participate, you have to possess these elements. That is confidence, effective communication way, quality of language should be there, listening skill is necessary, your attitude, positive attitude is also important, the paraphrasing skills is also important, and leadership, the last one. So these elements one has to possess in his or her personality. Now let us see types of group discussion, topic-based group discussion, case-based group discussion. These are the two fundamental or important types. What are they? Topic-based group discussion, in which you will have a topic in an interview, and case-based in the group discussion, in which you are not, there are some cases are given to you, and you have to discuss, you have to resolve the particular problem that they given to you people in a group. Okay, so case-based group discussion is different from topic-based group discussion. So what are the purpose of group discussion? To reach a solution on an issue of concern. Whatever the problem is there, that problem should be resolved. So resolution is the solution should be achieved. That is the main purpose. To generate new ideas for solving a problem, or innovative ideas should be calculated or should be generated. That is the basic purpose. And for choosing the applicants after the written test for a job or for admission to educational institutes. So it is a qualifying examination, just like it is a part of qualifying examination. It is a part of your interview. That these are the few purposes, and for that reason group discussion is arranged. So importance of group discussion in business or in any organization or in any company. What are the through group discussion we will have some sort of suggestions from group, because in group there are two or more than two peoples, or two or more than two candidates gather and they discuss, and in such a discussion we have a number of suggestions, we have a number of instructions you see that emerge. Later you see that wide approach or views the group that we get from group discussion. That is why group discussion helps to provide a wide approach to any concern under consideration, as it includes employees from different sections of a particular business organizations. Decision making is also possible. Suppose, as I told you people, that why group discussion, when individuals are unable to take any decision making, the group discussions solutions or group discussion helps in evaluation of a problem and reaches to a suitable decision, okay, based on suggestions presented by the members. It also makes it easier for the loss of chair person to able to take even the toughest of decision with an ease, because by group discussion. So she can know that the decision to be taken will be supported by other members of the company too, or also. So because of group discussion, we definitely have a certain policies, we have certain decisions that we will definitely find in group discussion, and nobody can avoid, nobody can ignore your such suggestions, your such instructions, your such approaches, your such decisions, whatever you get or concludes from group discussion. So no one can avoid you, no one can ignore you. So that are the good benefits, that were the good advantages that we get from group discussion. So exchange of ideas is also possible. My idea is different from yours, your idea is different from others. So in this way, whenever we talk, whenever we discuss coming together, we can to some certain extent can change our ideas, and it is possible only because of group discussion. Okay, these are the importance advantages that we get from group discussion. Despite these advantages, we have some sort of importance that importance of group discussion in selection process is also very important. So what are the do's and don'ts of group discussion? In group discussion, what we have to do and what we do not. That is very important thing. So let us see in a brief way that there are some do's. Agree and acknowledge whatever one find interesting. Agree and acknowledge whatever one find interesting. So you can't negatively remark quickly in group discussion. So instead of a negative remark that you give to others, you just accept it and acknowledge it. So later you will see that whether which one idea is good one, which one idea is bad one, which one is negative, which one is positive one. All these things will be discussed at the end of the group discussion. So instead of quickly giving such responses or feedback, you just accept it or acknowledge it. Disagree politely because it is discussion and not an argument. Okay, that is also important thing in group discussion. You are not able, suppose if you are not agree with your colleagues, you should disagree it. You should show it such your disagreement in a polite way. Do a mental revision of what one is going to say. Think of how one can best answer the question or contribute to the topic. So being a leader, you have to do it in that way. Stick to the theme of discussion and not get engaged in other irrelevant discussions. So instead of beating around the bush, you have to beat direct to the bush. So keeping eye on or keeping your mind on the topic, on the given topic, you have to stick to the central idea instead of revolving around the other things. Follow some sort of etiquettes while speaking. Be confident is also very important. Speak pleasantly and politely in the group. That is important feature that one has to possess in his or her personality whenever he participate in group discussion or group debate. So respect and recognize the contribution of every member and represent it with a nod or a smile. So non-verbal communication or the body language should be used in group discussion instead of just keeping mum in the group. Okay, these are the important factors that we just discussed with you people. Now don'ts are also there. That do not lose one's temper. It is a group discussion, not an argument. Try to understand. You are not the rivaler in the group that you have. You are already participating in the group. So keeping eye that all the other members are also your own partners, your own good friends. You don't raise your own any type of temper in the group. Don't speak loudly or aggressively. Is not allowed in group discussion. Loud speaking or aggressiveness is not allowed in a group discussion. If you go ahead in that way, then definitely or certainly in an interview, the experts can identify you what type of personality is there. So don't do gestures like a finger pointing and table thumbing. So using non-verbal communication or using body language means not to raise your finger or show your thumping and so on. So this can appear aggressive. So limit one's body gestures. Limitation should be there. Don't dominate the discussion, as confident speakers should allow the quieter a chance to speak up and contribute to the discussions. So others should also be included in our discussions instead of going frequently that you are using your own ideas, your own statement in group discussion. So let us come, let us participate, let us express their views in group. Okay, don't draw too much on personal experience. It is not a subjective one, but it should be a objective one. So discussion should be objective one instead of a subjective one. So don't interrupt when someone else is speaking. Wait for a speaker to finish before one speaks. That is a good listener's characteristics. That good listener always or often listen what some others say to us or what some others participate in group discussion. So let us speak first of all. Let us complete first of all the statement, the whatever their views are there, and then only you can interrupt. Okay, these are the some don'ts that you have to keep in your mind, some do's that we seen just. So in order to build your good personality, you have to keep all these things in your mind. So studying for only exam orientation is not important for me. So instead of giving much and more importance to the theory, you have to use it in your personal life and build your own personality in a good way. Okay. Now let us see the last one part of this one unit is interview. So giving an interview and facing an interview is a very good and the very basic or the very important unit factor that we have to discuss here, because it is the last stage of your academic career. After giving an interview, if you select by your authorities, you have definitely have a good opportunity to serve in a specific or particular company. So interviews of very the last one and good and important element or part of this one oral communication unit. So let us see, an interview is the most prevalent kind of planned communication. What is it? An interview is nothing but the most prevalent kind of planned communication. It is a planned one. So one has to prepare. Planning means that one has to prepare, one has to structure his own communication. So interview use a special technique of communication that is used to examine the behavior of an individual or individuals, to match their statements and to study the clear conclusions of social interaction. So in other words of Stewart and Cash, these are the two scholars who say that, or according to them, interview is a process of dialectic communication with predetermined and serious purpose, designed to interchange behavior and involving the asking and answering the questions. So these are the some important factors that one has to concentrate on these elements in order to give an interview. So interview is a process of dialectic communication. There is some sort of dialectication is there. It is a predetermined and serious purpose, because you are having your opportunity, your service there. So your behavior is also calculated, your involvement is also calculated, your personality is also calculated, your leadership is also calculated, and so on. So things are involved in interview. Okay. So let us see now, within 5 minutes I would like to complete today's session. Types of interviews. There are a few types: the non-directive interview, the directive or structured interview, the situational interview, the behavioral interviews, stress interviews, panel interview, and so on. So before giving an interview, you have to study first of all what is mean by interview and how it should be given to, or how one has to face an interview. So before giving or facing an interview, one has to prepare first of all. Or preparation means what here, on your own topic, on your own subject, you have to prepare. Despite preparation of your own the syllabus based questions, you have to possess the general knowledge that we can say here, we say here GK. So general knowledge is also important here, that one has to prepare. So let us see in a brief way these types of interviews. Okay. So the non-directive interview. In a non-directive interview, the interviewed viewer asks questions as they come to mind. So there is no any direction. The interviewer, the panel, the experts are there, and out of among these interviewers, someone may be there that he or she may be asked such non-directive questions, non-directive statement he may he may issue, he may ask to you. So in a non-directive interview, the interviewer asks questions as they come to mind, whatever it may be. We can't predict. There is no specific format to be followed. The questions, the questions can take any directions. Difficulties with a non-directive interview include keeping it job related and obtaining comparable data on various applicants. So it depends on your own CV that you produce before giving an interview. Also, when you produce or when you submit your applications, along with application, you people submit your own CV, biodata or whatever it may be. So the question may come out of your own curriculum vitae or biodata, but there is no any direction from which one category she may raise questions. That is, we call here the non-directive interview. So the directive or structured interview, you have to study what is meant by interview before the preparation of an interview. So in this interview, the interviewer uses a predetermined set of questions. In directive or in structured interview, the interviewer uses a predetermined set of questions that are clearly related to your syllabus. Since every applicant is asked the same basic questions, comparison among applicants can be made more easily. So structured questions improve the reliability of the interview process, eliminate basic and errors, and many may even enhance the ability to withstand legal challenges. So designing a structured interview take time and energy, because the structure itself requires more time. Okay. Later you see that the situational interview, one variation of the structured interview is known as the situational interview. In this approach, the applicant is confronted with a hypothetical incident and asked how he or she would respond to it. The applicant response is then evaluated relative to pre-established benchmark standardness. The behavioral interviews, these are the different purposes that one has to achieve. He or she may choose any one of these type of interviews. So this interview focuses on actual work incidents. So as against hypothetical situation in the situational interview, in the applicant's part, the applicant is supposed to reveal what he or she did in a given situation. For example, how he disciplined an employee who was smoking inside factory premises. So it based on the behavioral. All the questions will be set on only behavioral level. Then by giving the situation, it is just like a case study level questions or interview. Panel interviews also there. In this interview, the applicant meets with interviewers who take turn asking questions one by one. After the interview, the interviewers analyze their observations to arrive at a consensus about the suitability of the applicant. The panel members can ask new and incisive questions based on their experts and experience. Okay. So these are some types or kinds of interviews that one has to face in an interview. So preparation is very important in interview. Structure is also important in interview, and one has to prepare or one has to know about the organization before going to face an interview in which he or she is going to give his or her interview. Okay, so with these few words or with these few elements in a brief way, I just delivered or just I discussed with you people regarding oral communication. So if you have any doubt, we will discuss on your any cynic or any problem or any doubt regarding oral communication now? So now it is open to you people for question answer for discussion. Hello. Hello. Are you there?
बोले सर.
Yeah. If you have any doubt regarding oral communication, in which we have discussed regarding interviews, group discussion, group debate. If you have any doubt, we will discuss here. Any query, any question? If you don't have any
काही डाऊट नाही.
डाऊट नाही ना, ठीक आहे. नसेल तर आपण थांबूया आणि अजून एक टॉपिक शेवटचा आहे तो आपण तुम्हाला सांगितलं जाईल सरांशी पाटील सरांशी कम्युनिकेशन करून मी तुम्हाला तो पाटील सर तुम्हाला मेसेज देतील त्या दिवशी आपल्याला घेता येईल. दॅट इज द लास्ट वन इन इट दॅट वी हॅव टू डिस्कस दॅट वी हॅव टू स्टडी. It may be tomorrow or day after tomorrow, but we will let you know later. ओके, मग आता आपण थांबूया असं मला वाटते. तुमच्याकडे काही डाऊट्स वगैरे नसेल तर आपल्याला थांबता येईल. ओके, थांबूया काय आता आपण?
हा सर.
या थँक्यू.
थँक्यू.